Hey everyone, welcome back to Coach Quip. This is episode 193. I'm Coach Robyn.
I'm Coach Chris.
And today we are talking about how to break through a plateau in training or racing. It is something everybody goes through.
Yeah, plateaus are super frustrating. Whether you have been stuck at the same pace for a 5K or your long runs feel fine, but you're not making progress in your long distance racing, or maybe you're just going through the motions without the motivation or the spark. Any sort of situation like this, it's all the same. We have hit a plateau and we need to break out of it.
Plateaus, number one, aren't permanent. Let's repeat that. Plateaus are not permanent. You just need to shake things up. And today we're going to talk a lot about how exactly you can do that. A little aside, I think it's crazy that when we talk about training and we talk about racing and plateaus are a negative thing, because if you're hiking, it's actually a really great moment. It's a rest because you're at a flat part. You usually have a better vantage point before you're either continuing on or starting to descend. So maybe we have a little reframing about the function of plateaus too. They allow us to have some better visibility into figuring out how to be better.
Yeah, and it means that the training is working too. It means that your body has adapted, right? So all of your training, if you have hit that plateau, it means that your body has leveled up and now you have to change the stimulus to level up to the next spot.
When it comes to plateaus, it's not your imagination, right? And it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It usually means that your body's adapted. And like you just said, it's time to change up the stimulus. So let's talk about some common causes of a plateau. Here are some of the biggest culprits. First, same workouts, the same paces week after week. I am personally, if I'm not training for something, very guilty of this. I will be I will do 4 miles at this blah, blah, blah pace, right? Your body gets efficient, but progress eventually stalls. So you're not getting any weaker, but you're not making any grounds.
The second will be too much intensity and not enough recovery. So we know that speed isn't always the answer. Your body only progresses through the recovery phase, and so we need that recovery as well. Sometimes it's not your training, it's that you're tired and you need that rest.
And you haven't recovered yet. I love this next one. Please, sweet baby Jesus. Lack of strength training. I am 45. This has never been more obvious than now, honestly, even starting in my 30s. If your muscles aren't strong, and running, unfortunately, is catabolic, right? It is going to break down muscle. Your speed can only go so far. So if you do not have any, or you don't have enough strength training in your regimen, you will plateau. Full stop.
And strength training, I think that's the single best thing that you can do to level up. If you are stuck, that's your solution right there. The next is under fueling or under recovering. Once again, you have to prioritize the recovery, but you also need to make sure that you're refueling because you can't level up on an empty tank.
This next one is real. So too much stress in your every other area of your life. Your body recognizes physical and physiological strength or stress as exactly the same. So if you are super stressed out at work, it is going to maybe amplify or negate some of your current training, and that is a real reason that you can feel like you're plateauing.
So those are some of the common reasons that people experience plateaus. Let's talk about how to bust out of them. The first thing that you could do is change your workouts. This one's pretty obvious, right? We said if you do the same thing at the same pace every day, you're going to stop seeing results at some point. So there are a couple of different ways that you can switch it up. You can add intervals or tempo runs. So if you're not doing quality speed work already, adding that in can change the stimulus. You can switch to road miles or trail miles depending on what you've been doing. So those two can really switch it up.
Doing minutes based instead of mileage based, that might not seem like such a big switch up, but sometimes it allows you to just think of things in a different construct and will allow you to run either a better or a more sustainable pace. Adding strides at the end of a recovery run to spark speed, I love that one, or even hill repeats at the end. It just gives you enough of oh, cool.
Yeah, you can try progression runs instead of steady state runs. So picking it up in the second half to train those legs on train your legs on tired legs, but also to change that stimulus. And then fartlek runs. We love a fartlek run. This is speed work that's a little bit unstructured, and it's just a way to inject a little bit of speed into your runs and just switch it up a little bbit.
I usually will throw in a fartlek on a recovery week. So if we have a 3 up, 1 down, I'll throw it on that down week because it's less taxing, it's more fun, it's going to help that fitness metabolize. Something interesting to note about changing your workouts, this is actually why when someone it goes from a group training methodology or maybe following something online to working with a coach, they see pretty big gains pretty quickly. Or let's say they change coaches, they see pretty big gains pretty quickly, assuming that what's written is good and effective. But yes, it's definitely working with a coach that's helping, but it's usually because they've incorporated something that the athlete hasn't been doing, like any of the ones we just listed already, which is pretty cool. Second big thing you can do, this is not going to be surprising, add a cutback or a recovery week. Sometimes the answer is doing less. If you've already been doing little, this is not the time to do that. But if you've been trying to do too much and you just feel fatigue, that's a really great indicator that you need to take a recovery week. So try a week of lower mileage or fewer workouts. You can even sub out a run, like an easy run for something like a bike. Let your body catch up and absorb the work you've been doing. Your fitness isn't going to go anywhere. If anything, it's going to settle in, especially if you're in something like a half or full marathon build.
Yeah. Next up is to start strength training if you haven't already, or to add an extra strength session if you've already been doing it. This one is huge. This should just be runners should do strength podcast.
Yes.
We always come back to this. But our runners who lift, they experience less injuries, they can recover better, and their progression and their progress in their running always improves. And so, we want to focus on hamstrings, glutes, core, and single leg stability to improve your running.
Some quick stats, which I know I've mentioned eons ago, is when we doubled our space at Edge and really expanded our strength offerings. In one season, we, on average, they still recovered about twice a week, but they went from doing about one strength workout a week, but because we now had a much bigger room and more classes offered, they went to 2 strength classes a week. These are 30 to 45-minute classes, not earth-shatteringly long, but in that season, we saw our PR rate go from 85 to 93%, and we saw over 25% reduction in injury. That's just by doing one more strength training a week. That was the only variable that changed. So it doesn't take a lot to make a really big difference.
Mm-hmm. Next up is to train your mind as well. Plateaus aren't just physical. It can also be related to your mental state. So sometimes it's about burnout. You can try running without your watch, right? Sometimes we get so locked into
Love
those
a naked
numbers.
run.
Yes, a naked run. Try running without your watch, or switch up your route, switch up your routine. Run with a friend if you usually run alone. Run with a group.
Reconnect with why you started. Like for me, it's to get like a brain dump. So if I need a reset, I'm going to run by water, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm nerdy, so I'd probably read an inspirational book, or maybe read an article, or listen to a podcast. Like one Alexi Pappas's Mentor Buffet would be a really great place to start. All of those things can kind of retrain that mental aspect. Fifth one is to look at your nutrition and recovery. If you can't train hard if you're underfueled or underslept, you just can't, right? Sleep is our number one recovery tool. It's free. Are you getting 7-8 hours? Where else can you go to bed a little bit earlier, get up a little bit later, on what days? Look at it, right? Mm-hmm. Think about how that's feeling. Are you eating enough carbs and protein? Are you eating at the right times? I will tell you, I've already said, I don't always love to eat in the morning, but I will tell you, if I eat before I run, I feel I have such a better run, right?
Totally.
Even if it's a little bit. So think about how you're cycling those and when they're feeling good. Are you hydrated? Are you waking up in a dehydrated state and rolling out the door and feeling like garbage? And how is your stress? Check in with yourself. Is that an amplifier of your current training because it's a little bit wild?
And then finally, you might need to set a new type of goal. So instead of chasing the same PR, like if you've consistently been trying to reach some certain time on the marathon, switching it up to a different distance or a different type of race can be really helpful. So if you're a road racer, maybe look at some trail races. If you have a problem with the second half of your racing, focus on trying to hit negative splits.
Even in workouts, that can make a big difference. You can feel like you felt like, I did it.
Yeah, and it can shake you out of that plateau. And then aim for consistency over speed.
Yeah, running especially does not discriminate. So being able to put together 5 runs a week, if that's the goal, even if they're like kind of smaller, is going to be better than you trying to bomb yourself with a bunch of speed that might mentally burn you out.
So how do we actually implement these? First of all, you don't need to overhaul your entire training plan to break out of a plateau. You just need to pick one of these things, test it out for a couple of weeks, and see how it goes, right? Because we just need to change one of the stimuli to create difference and see that change and usually break out of that flat spot.
So we know plateaus can feel like failure, but they're not. They're feedback. Think about how you think of it as a hike. It's a way to take a second, take a break, and see how to progress from there. Your body's saying, yo, I've adapted, but time for us to change this and shift to the next level. And that's actually really exciting.
Yeah, so take a breath, zoom out, enjoy that little flat spot on your hike, and then make one tweak. and implement that. You have to trust that progress isn't linear. And I think this is the best visual, right?
Yeah.
So we progress, we flatten out, we progress again. Sometimes we go down, sometimes we come back up. All of it means that you are an athlete, right? This happens for everyone. So we will see those dips, we will see the peaks and valleys. Your job is to tweak and make sure that you can change things to keep going up.
We hope that this episode gave you some tools and encouragement on how to keep going and break out of that plateau, even if you're stuck right now.